fabric softener is one of the most successfully marketed laundry products in history, and also one of the least necessary. There is something already in most kitchens that softens fabric more effectively, removes residue that fabric softener leaves behind, and costs nothing. Once you understand what fabric softener actually does, this switch makes complete sense. The kitchen staple is plain white vinegar, and it has been used as a fabric rinse aid since long before commercial fabric softener existed. Before understanding why it works, it helps to understand what fabric softener is actually doing, because most people assume it makes fabric physically softer through some kind of conditioning process. That is not quite what is happening. Commercial fabric softener works by depositing a thin layer of chemical compounds, primarily quaternary ammonium compounds called quats, onto fabric fibers. These compounds are positively charged and bind to the negatively charged surface of most natural and synthetic fabrics. The coating reduces the friction between fibers, which is what creates the soft feel. It also reduces static buildup for the same reason. The problem is that this coating accumulates with repeated use. Over time, the waxy quat buildup makes fabric less breathable, reduces the moisture-wicking ability of athletic wear and towels, and can cause towels to feel slippery rather than absorbent. This is why towels washed with fabric softener for years often feel softer in the hand, but leave you feeling less dry after a shower than older towels that have never been treated. White vinegar works differently, and the mechanism is simpler. Most detergent residue is alkaline. Hard water minerals that deposit on fabric fibers during the wash cycle are also alkaline. Vinegar is acetic acid, which is mildly acidic, and when it enters the rinse cycle, it neutralizes the alkaline detergent residue and mineral deposits on the fabric surface. What makes fabric feel rough and stiff after washing is primarily this residue, not the absence of a softening coating. Removing the residue rather than coating over it leaves the fabric fibers clean and free to flex naturally, which is what creates the soft feel. Fabric rinsed with vinegar feels soft because the thing making it stiff has been removed, rather than because something new has been deposited on top of it. The application is straightforward. Add half a cup of plain white vinegar to the fabric softener dispenser of your washing machine or directly to the drum during the rinse cycle if your machine does not have a dedicated dispenser. The vinegar smell does not transfer to clothing or bedding after the spin and dry cycle, which is the concern most people raise when they first hear this. The acetic acid evaporates during drying and leaves no residual scent on fabric. If you use a dryer, this happens quickly during the heat cycle. If you line dry, the smell is gone within an hour or two. The only exception is if you use so much vinegar that the fabric remains saturated rather than just rinsed, which is why the half-cup amount matters rather than pouring in more for better results. There are 3 specific situations where white vinegar as a rinse aid outperforms commercial fabric softener by a clear enough margin to be worth knowing explicitly. The first is towels. Fabric softener applied repeatedly to towels creates a water-repellent coating that makes towels feel soft, but progressively reduces their ability to absorb moisture. A towel washed exclusively with vinegar rinse rather than fabric softener maintains its full absorbency because no coating has accumulated on the fiber surface. If you have towels that currently feel slippery or leave you feeling less dry than they should, washing them 2 or 3 times with vinegar added to the rinse cycle, and no fabric softener will strip the accumulated quat buildup and restore absorbency. This process is sometimes called stripping towels, and it is a well-documented laundry practice recommended by textile care guides. The second situation is athletic wear and moisture-wicking fabrics. The synthetic microfibers in athletic clothing are designed to pull moisture away from skin through capillary action. Fabric softener coating blocks those capillary channels and reduces the moisture-wicking function significantly, which is why athletic wear instructions almost universally say not to use fabric softener. White vinegar rinse is safe for synthetic performance fabrics, maintains the moisture-wicking function, and removes the sweat mineral deposits that build up in athletic wear and cause the persistent odor that regular washing does not fully address. The acidity of the vinegar neutralizes the ammonia compounds in dried sweat residue, which is what causes that smell. The third situation is baby clothing and skin-sensitive laundry. Commercial fabric softener contains synthetic fragrance compounds and chemical softening agents. And for people with sensitive skin or contact dermatitis, these residues on fabric can cause irritation. White vinegar rinse leaves no residue whatsoever on fabric, making it the safest rinse option for infant clothing, bedding, and laundry for anyone with skin sensitivities. One practical note on washing machines before applying this. Vinegar is acidic, and there has been some concern about whether regular vinegar use damages washing machine rubber seals and hoses over time. The evidence on this is mixed. Consumer Reports has noted that regular vinegar use in the rinse cycle, at the concentrations used for softening, is unlikely to cause significant seal damage because the vinegar is heavily diluted during the rinse cycle and is in contact with components for a short period. The concentrations used in a half cup per load diluted into a full drum of rinse water are far lower than the pure acidity that would cause material degradation. As a precaution, avoid pouring undiluted vinegar directly onto rubber seals or leaving it in contact with metal drum components between washes. One further application worth knowing that requires nothing beyond the vinegar already being added. A cup of white vinegar added to a load of musty-smelling towels, clothing that has sat damp too long, or gym clothes with embedded odor works as a deodorizer independently of its softening function. The acetic acid neutralizes the microbial compounds responsible for musty and sour smells in a single wash cycle. This is the same principle that makes vinegar effective for cleaning and deodorizing in other areas of the home. And it is why old household guides recommended adding vinegar to laundry long before fabric softener existed. For particularly stubborn odors, running the load on the hottest temperature safe for those fabrics with a full cup of vinegar and no detergent at all. Then rewashing normally strips the odor compounds entirely in most cases. It is worth comparing vinegar rinse to wool dryer balls, since dryer balls are often suggested as the natural alternative to fabric softener. Wool dryer balls work through a different mechanism entirely. They tumble with laundry in the dryer and physically separate fabric items, which reduces drying time and static buildup. They do not remove detergent residue from fabric, and they do not address the mineral deposit stiffness that vinegar addresses in the wash cycle. Vinegar is a rinse cycle treatment. Wool dryer balls are a drying cycle treatment. The two do different jobs and can be used together without any conflict. Vinegar handles the chemical residue and mineral deposits during washing, and dryer balls reduce drying time and static during drying. Using both gives you the benefits of each without any overlap. There is also a specific use case worth mentioning for linen and natural fiber bedding, since this is where fabric softener causes problems that most people do not attribute to the softener itself. Linen and cotton naturally become softer with washing and use over time as the fibers break in. Fabric softener coating applied to new linen or cotton bedding actually slows this natural break-in process by coating the fibers and preventing the microabrasion between fibers during washing that causes natural softening. Old farmhouse bedding washed with soap and water and line-dried became noticeably softer over years of use because nothing interfered with that natural process. Vinegar rinse accelerates this natural softening by removing detergent residue while leaving the fiber structure fully intact to develop naturally. Washing without fabric softener was simply how laundry was done for the vast majority of human history. Commercial fabric softener was introduced in the mid-20th century as a product targeting the growing market for synthetic fabrics that had more static problems than natural fibers, and it was marketed heavily enough that it became standard practice across all fabric types, including natural ones that never needed it. The vinegar rinse is not a new trick. It is the older and more effective version of the same problem-solving approach. If you switch to vinegar rinse this week, give it 3 or 4 washes before judging the results on most fabrics, since it takes a couple of cycles to fully clear any accumulated softener residue from previous washes. For towels specifically, the improvement in absorbency is usually noticeable from the first vinegar wash. And the next video covers another laundry habit that most households have never questioned, but that is quietly adding to both the utility bill and the wear on clothing every single cycle. Stay subscribed for that one. Let me know in the comments whether you have tried this before or whether you are going to test it this week. And if you have tried it, tell me what difference you noticed, because the towel absorbency finding is one that surprises people most consistently.